Hello, my name is Joey Santos, and welcome to MTV Cribs. So back in 2010, I was running a successful recording studio. I was making good money recording artists. I was producing my own music, and I was also doing music for like TV, film, and commercials. And basically I got to where I wanted to be, but it wasn't all plain sailing. And I kind of learned at that point that, success brings its own problems too. For example, I had a monthly overhead that I needed to pay, stuff like, rent, water, electricity, internet, and that kind of thing. Plus, I also had a growing team that I needed to manage, which in itself, it was like a totally different job altogether, because up until that point, I was just so used to working on my own in the studio, right? My name is Joey, and I'm the studio manager and proprietor. I make sure that everyone's working. I always believe in hiring character over skill. Skill is something that can be taught. Character is something that is developed over time.
Pretty profound.
So to stay in the game and to keep the lights on, I had to make some business decisions and compromises. So we started doing more corporate work, which wasn't exactly what I wanted. When I started the studio, it wasn't my thing. I just, wanted to make music with other artists, and I wanted to make my own music. But, having to accept this was really tough, because I fought so hard for the studio life, and now it was kind of forcing me to do things that I really didn't want to do. So that's when I decided to take a stand and told myself, okay, we're gonna scrap all this corporate stuff and we're gonna go back to our roots. We're gonna record artists, and we're gonna turn the studio back into a creative space. And I thought I was doing like the right thing, but looking back, it was kind of dumb and unfair to my staff members. They relied on me for their livelihood, and they had mouths to feed and all that. So months later, after making this decision, surprise, surprise, bills started piling up because our new cash-strapped artists didn't always pay on time. And we basically ran out of runway. We were short on cash, my credit cards were maxed out, and I was really stressed just thinking about it right now. It's kind of making me anxious just thinking back to that day. And that's when it all kind of came to a head. I'll never forget when my landlord just came up to me in the hallway of where the studio was and basically said, you haven't paid your rent in months, so I'm throwing you out if you don't turn this around right now. And I think that was rock bottom for me. I jeopardized my business, and it was all my fault. That was my decision in the first place. So I tried to turn things around. I worked all hours possible aside from running the studio. At one point, I was DJing 3 times a week. I was doing Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And sometimes I do weddings and functions on the weekends. I was basically in survival mode because I wanted to make it work. I had to make it work, This was my dream. This was, my thing. And I really want to keep my team's salaries paid and, just keep the studio afloat, keep it going. So I did this hustle for 3 years, just nonstop. And after a while, the studio got better, and the gigging meant that, I was making enough for myself too, which was nice. I didn't have a master plan yet, because at that point, I was just really happy that, the studio clawed its way out of near bankruptcy. And that's when something happened. I woke up one afternoon, tired from the gig the night before. I checked my phone and spotted an email. It read, "Are you available to Skype?" And that's when I remembered that, oh, wow, yeah, I totally forgot. I applied for a job on a local DJ group on Facebook the night before. So yeah, it's kind of weird, right? The site turned out to be Digital DJ Tips, and that's when the next stage of my life began. I decided to close down the studio and to work for the site, just do it full time. And it was at this point that a funny thing happened. I was still DJing and making music on the side, but for the first time in years, I guess, with all the pressure lifted, all of the responsibilities of just having a business running and having to sustain it. With all that pressure gone, things actually felt good and I was creative again. I was happy. And I was still pretty modest about what I'd learned over the years about producing music. But our founder at Digital DJ Tips, Phil, he just has this knack for, I guess, spotting people who maybe don't believe in like their own ability and convincing them that they've got it. So he asked me to do like this series of articles for Digital DJ Tips on music production. And the cool thing is that people like them when we put them out. So we made a training course about making songs that, you could be proud of. And, it doesn't have to take, years of learning how to do it. You can make those songs and play them in your sets quickly. You can do it in like a couple of days, even if you don't have a musical background. And, that course ended up being music production for DJs. That was like the first course I made for Digital DJ Tips. And making that course and I guess seeing it become a huge success, not just for me, but for the company as well, it gave us the confidence to really take things further. So that's when Phil gave me a 9-month sabbatical to make a complete course that distills everything I learned in my 10 plus years just, running a recording studio and working with other artists. And we called that course Dance Music Formula. And what it does is it gives students like all the practical skills needed to make, release, and promote professional dance music of all types. And at this point, I felt that I'd come full circle because when we first released Dance Music Formula, this was back in 2016, I had several hundred students they're just like the people I'd been recording and working with in my studio, like back in the day. But this time they were like all over the world. And now all of my students, they have like their music out on Spotify, they're on iTunes, they're on Amazon Music, their tracks are on SoundCloud and they're getting gigs off of the back of like their productions. It was really awesome and it's like a dream come true for me because I'm back to doing what I loved again. It was, coaching people, working with other artists, I guess, but like in an online setting and teaching them stuff that I've learned through the years. And from all this, what I learned is that doing the thing that you love, doing it for yourself and not necessarily for a career, it's absolutely fine. Not everything you do has to lead to worldwide acclaim or like hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. There's great value in doing things just for yourself, for your creativity, for your own sake. In my case, I really only started enjoying producing music again when I was doing it for fun, when I wasn't pressured to, keep the lights on or something like that. It wasn't my day job. It was my hobby. It was my passion. Some people love to play golf. My dad likes to play golf to relax and unwind. I like to make music. So it's just my way of just unwinding, right? I learned that what I really love is training and coaching other people in what I've learned. In fact, I've put out more new music this year than ever before, and that's while I'm flat out in like my full-time job for Digital DJ Tips, which is like, crazy hours, but I've still got time to put out music. Looking back, it's been a long, rough, but rewarding journey, and now I'm here and I'm not only teaching making music for my career, but I'm also making the music I've always wanted to make in my free time. So I guess you could say it all worked out fine.